Lovely.
Yeah, I'm good.
You allow
All
me.
right.
Thank you.
Okay.
Jared.
No problem. Like I said,
Yeah.
I'm going to hop off. I'm just going to check back in at the end. I'm by my phone and my messages if anyone needs me.
Okay, very good.
Fantastic.
Well, hello.
How you doing?
Not too bad. Not too bad.
Right?
I didn't know I'd be podcasting from the home office for the rest of my life, but
Yeah, it's really quite something. It's like this roller coaster, right? Depending on what day it is. Yeah.
totally. But it's nice to see you. Yeah. I mean, I guess you just got under the wire with the documentary.
Yeah.
I mean, I noticed like towards the end, Maria was wearing a mask.
Yes. Well, that, so we premiered at Sundance, right? And we had to, that verdict came down June 15th. So we added the coda recently, right?
Right, makes sense.
Yeah, it does. I mean, we had to, yeah. So it's so telling of the time. Suddenly there's a mask, right? And it was like, okay.
Yeah. Well, with that administration in the Philippines, masks would be almost would be almost expected, in terms of people trying to keep their identity hidden, but not one of the good guys like Maria. Maria is the kind of the core subject of 1,000 Cuts. She is a Filipino journalist, and she is following the story of President Duterte,
yeah.
Duterte,
Yeah.
of President Duterte, which is a really dangerous thing to do, and his war on poverty. I mean, sorry, drugs. What was I thinking?
Adam,
If
what
you
are you
just
saying?
if you just because it's very we're obviously there's many parallels in this film to someone we all know and loathe, but
Yes.
and it's like if there aren't any poor people, then you don't have a poverty problem, right? I mean,
Exactly. Just get rid of them. They're all drug addicts anyway. So,
right. So you get the I guess the support of everybody else because you're cleaning up the streets. I mean, this is the nightmare that is the subject of your film.
Yeah, I think Law and Order, right? It resonates. And if you get, that's what he campaigned on. He campaigned on a drug war, but he actually did it, right?
Yeah.
I mean, hours later, there were dead bodies in the streets. But
right.
The man campaigned on it, right? He said he would do it, and he did it.
You'd be surprised.
Yeah.
And he must be loving the footage coming out of Portland. I mean,
it is scary, right?
It is scary.
I mean, sometimes, I go back between the Philippines and the US, right? And I always know where I am, right? I always know. Clearly, I'm in the Philippines. Clearly, I'm in the US. But, when you start watching on television, like CNN reporters getting arrested on live television, then it's so alarming. When you see Portland, you're like, okay, where am I again? Wait, I thought I was in the States. Where they become really, really starting to look alike. I never would have thought, right, it would happen, that the day would happen. But it is.
Well, how did it, I mean, well, here there's just sort of a complacency, and I guess the lesson we must learn is never to be complacent, never to take constitutional rights for granted. But the Philippines is, and I want your take on it because your heritage is tied up in the Philippines, obviously, and so I was thinking about this when I was watching the film. So my first thought is the history of the country is pretty corrupt, governmentally speaking, from the government standpoint. And then also, how does it make you feel? From a in terms of your Filipino identity.
It's been 35 years since the Marcos dictatorship, right? They were ousted in 1986. And I think slowly the country was becoming more politically mature, I think. Slowly. Because I mean, when the Marcoses left in the mid 80s, they had to rebuild the institutions again. It takes a long time, right?
Yes.
And it was just, I think, coming back. It takes a generation to rebuild these institutions. So to see Duterte come again, it's heartbreaking. It's we released the film in the Philippines for 24 hours for free, right before the weekend before her verdict, just to raise awareness because her verdict was being handed down on a Monday.
Explain the.
Okay, so she was
we're
gonna.
kind of giving the ending a little bit, but it's not about withholding. So
No, she was found. So she has 8 cases against her, right? Some by the government, some by private individuals, mostly by the government. So she was found guilty on one of them, cyber libel, right, and was sentenced to 6 years in prison, 6 months to 6 years in prison. She's out on bail. So before, and that was the first verdict handed down of the 8 cases that she has, right? So in order to raise awareness, I thought, let's release the film for free for 24 hours. And we did it so quickly. And Frontline was great because they were on board. And then Concordia was on board. I mean, all the stakeholders were like, yeah, it's the right thing to do. Let's do it. And we did it so quickly. We had no time. Like, I thought about it on Monday. Everyone talked about it on Tuesday. On Wednesday, we were planning it, and then we released it Friday, right? No one had time, so I just sent out, to my, different Viber groups and on Twitter, on Facebook. I said, hey, we're releasing this 24 hours. And Frontline said, great, the typical traffic will get, they'll probably get 40,000 views, if that's the max, right?
I'm gonna guess it was more than 40,000, Ramon.
Yes.
I'm just gonna take a stab here.
233,000 in 24 hours. And we could have stayed longer and it would have reached. I mean, it really like, it caught fire, right? But in those 24 hours, so it was on Friday night, and then we finished Saturday night, and then we followed it with a talk back with me and Maria and Rainey Aronson and Julie Passetti of Frontline. And but I was getting feedback, right? People watching. There were anonymous people just messaging me saying, but I expected anger, Adam, but it was more sadness, right? Like, oh my God, how did we take our eyes off the ball? We worked so hard. What happened? Why are we here again? And, usually I make films to really decode the Philippines for the West. Really, that's how I see it. I never think that it's a surprise for the Philippines. This is not an expose. They saw it like happening right in front of their eyes. But I think to see it in this form, the sadness was just too much. I mean, and of course compounded by the fact that everyone's in lockdown, right, because of COVID. I think this is their 19th week and very strict lockdown. So it was, of course, compounded by that. But still, I never expected the deep sadness and like regrets, right? That they're back where they started. It's like it took forever. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work to be free and
right.
build democratic institutions.
Yeah, I guess you're right. It's easier. Lazy is easier, and it's more. It's interesting. Remind me in the time frame. Cory Aquino, which years was she there? And why was she not as popular, a success story? Like, we loved her here, right?
Yeah.
She was, after the Marcos family.
I mean, after the Marcos family, you could love anyone, right? Think about it. If
she was like Biden plus.
Yes. Yeah. No, she was. She's very charismatic, but she was a transitional figure. I mean, she was the spouse of the opposition leader who got shot when he was coming down, right? When he arrived in the Philippines and he was shot, he was murdered as he was deplaning. And then she then stepped into his shoes and she became this bigger than life character and was swept into the presidency, but she was not a politician. She always said she wasn't. So for all her faults, I think she tried her best, but she was still very much a member of the elite, right? She comes from an elite family. But I think she tried her best, but she wasn't. But she was only meant to really be a bridge to transition out of dictatorship.
Now, it's very, very, to me, knowing what's been going on since last year and another documentary that was released about Imelda Marcos. It seems very, very resounding. There's a resounding message. Sorry, it's so loud outside here. I don't know if you can hear it. There's a, that the name Marcos is not even mentioned once in your film.
Yeah, because it wasn't about that, you know.
I know, but it seems like, how do you tell the story? Because in the meantime, in the background, right, the Marcoses kind of helped deliver Duterte, didn't they?
That's not necessarily.
I'm giving false facts here. Sorry.
No, I think Duterte really came into the scene as an outsider, talking very candidly, right? He was very honest about killing people, right? And it was kind of refreshing, which is crazy, but he really sparked the imagination. So Duterte's triumph, I think, was a lot. I think because there was a lot of failure of the promises of the revolution, of the people power revolution. Mm-hmm. And I think because of that, he rose. And he had been mayor for a long time in Davao. I think he sparked some imagination. He came along at the right time when crime was spiking. He came along and was talking about law and order and all that. So, yeah, I mean, he won. Listen, there were, I think, 5 candidates. So it's hard to say he won by a landslide because you can't. There are 5 candidates, right? But he won by a lot, a margin of a lot. And he remains popular to this day. I mean, I don't think there's a survey, a recent survey, but, you know, the last survey, he was still like 60% approval rating, but, you know, his approval ratings are gone up. So no, the Marcoses are not responsible for Duterte.
Okay. Thank you for correcting me. Yeah. I'm so honored to have you correct me, because I really think you are one of the smartest filmmakers out there. One of the best. You're a great documentary filmmaker.
Thank you.
And I really, really, your films are so direct and so clear. The message is so clear. You cut through so much, you know. I really respect you I didn't expect to be laying all this on you, but I'm gonna say it. So I have no ego. So you can
I appreciate it.
Yeah, sure. I appreciate you. You can correct me as much as you want to, because but I do appreciate also that the Marcos name was not brought up, because why give them any attention? I think, you know, I always felt like in the last 3-4 years, wouldn't it be ideal if the media just stopped, just ignore it? That's not only gives us a clearer sense of vision about our country, but it drives that moron up the wall if you just ignore him, because all he wants is attention, negative or positive, doesn't matter.
Yeah, so because, you know,
likewise, I kind of feel like that about the Marcos family, you know, F them.
Yeah. No, but because, you know, the story that they're back in power, they've been back in power since 2000, right? They have. Mrs. Marcos has run for the president again, way back when she came back from exile.
I remember.
Her kids have been governor and senator. Now her daughter is a senator, but her son has been senator. Her daughter has been a senator, has been governor of Ilocos. So they've been back in power for a long time. The real price is the presidency. That's the price that they want. Right now, it's not looking like, oh my God, knock wood, you know, because you never know. But I don't think that's a possibility this election cycle, which is 2022. You know, that is the price. But they've been in power. That's not news. You know, they've been in power for a while.
Yeah, I think. Am I mistaken, or was there a shot at one point of Duterte and I think one of the Marcos' son was with him?
There's a shot actually of the daughter, who's now a senator. She was running for Senate and she's dancing. There's just one shot of her.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah. All right. She's dancing on stage, like everyone does.
Yeah, right. Somebody should tell Elizabeth Warren not to dance. I'm a big fan, but don't dance.
Okay, duly noted. I'm gonna write that.
There's a kind of, I don't know what you call it,
That
but
was funny though.
it is fun. You mentioned, I know, in the reading material, the publicity material, that access, of course, is everything in this film, and it was at once the biggest success and also the biggest challenge, right? Getting the
Yeah,
and tell the
yeah,
story also about your past interaction with Maria Ressa. Again, she is the founder and the CEO of Rappler, which is like a independent news platform in the Philippines. I run out of, I guess, Manila, I'm guessing. And then she was also for many years a very well-regarded CNN correspondent from Manila. Their Philippine correspondent.
yeah. So I'll tell you a story about Maria and me. So in 2004, right, I came out with Imelda, my very first film about Imelda Marcos, right? And she sued us in the Philippines. Mrs. Marcos did, because invasion of privacy, selling her good name. So I had to fly to Manila to actually show up in court to defend the film. She was suing me and my distributor in the Philippines. And I was so stressed. I was in the middle of the crazy festival circuit. I was so stressed. So when I land in the Philippines, the distributors, the publicist, gave me a list of people who wanted to interview me, and Maria Ressa's name was on it. And she was then the face of CNN. You know, she was CNN Asia. That's Maria Ressa. I'm like, oh my God, Maria Ressa wants to interview me. I'm so thrilled. Yes. And someone said, well, she doesn't like the film, you know. I'm like, she doesn't? No, she's issues with it and she'd like to talk to you about it. I said, you know, I don't really want to litigate my film. I want to talk about the case against the film, but not the film. I'm just so tired. Can you tell her no? And she goes, no one turns on Maria Ressa on CNN. I'm like, but I am, because I'm really tired. I don't want to. So basically I did that, you know, I turned her down. And so I'm thinking, like, so fast forward 14 years later, I'm in her office, right? Asking her to be in my film. And I'm like, oh my God, I hope she doesn't remember. And of course she remembers, right? She goes, why did you turn me down all those years ago? I said, what? And then of course inside my head, should I not? That's stupid to pretend. I was like, Maria, I was hoping you wouldn't remember. He goes, oh, no. I remember the people who turned me down. And so I said, no, I just didn't feel like talking about litigating the film. I was there to talk about the court case and stuff. She goes, she goes, not to worry. You're here now. We'll have a lot of time to talk about that film. So to her credit, she still said yes. But I almost, the fact that she remembered, I'm like, okay, note to self. She never forgets. But yeah, so, you know, when I finally met her, I realized that she, you know, when I make these films, I don't really know what I'm doing until I know what I'm doing, right? Usually it's big themes and stuff, until then you realize there is gravitational pull, right, towards the center of your film. And I think also because of experience, right, you find the cream, the center of your film. And that was Maria, obviously, because she was also talking about disinformation, and no one was talking about disinformation then. Disinformation, Facebook, impunity, and the intersectionality, you know, amongst those topics.
Components.
She was the only one doing that, you know.
And but did you recognize it, like that there's such a deeply like there's such a close parallel to this country? Not only, I mean, of all what you just said, as well as the personalities of these two proto-fascists, meaning Trump and Duterte, of course, not you and Maria. But you know,
I'm glad you clarified that.
I try. You know,
No,
did you
listen,
see that?
My first you know, my first impulse was to make a film about the drug war. That's what I was interested in. And of course, then I realized so many people are attracted to this drug war. So many people are making that film. And so many people have actually made it already. It's since come out. So when I turned to Maria, because she was the loudest voice, right? She was really calling out Duterte. I realized that because of the disinformation, it would be a more global story, right? Because the drug war is very othering, right, in a way, because it's so violent. It makes you really shut your eyes. But if you put in this information, it really brings it home. did I realize it was really super parallel to? Maybe I did because of Duterte and Trump. I realized that it would be even more so with Maria's stance on disinformation, because that's not only here, right? That's so global. It's such a big problem that but I never mentioned it once in the film. It's so interesting. When we premiered at Sundance, so many people came up to me and just talked about the parallels between the two countries when I never mentioned it. So I said, okay, so it's kind of, it's hitting, right? Without ever, there's only one picture of Trump and Duterte in it, but I never mentioned Trump.
No, you don't, and that's appreciated. But he won't watch it. He won't see it because of that.
Really? Oh, I want a screening at the White House.
Good luck with that. Did big question? Don't mean to put you on the spot, but did George Clooney sign a release? Did he have to sign a release?
Yes, we got his approval. It's in the email.
He's a supporting actor in the film.
Yes, I know, right?
That feel pretty good, right?
No, they've been really supportive. I mean, Amal came on while we were filming. Amal came on and became her lawyer. So
that's a big cause of his, though, freedom of the press.
Yes, they have a trial watch. So what Trial Watch does is they watch trials all around the world and keep an eye on them, so they're fair, right? Mm-hmm. So I think Maria had a choice of just being watched or signing on Amal as a lawyer. So she signed on Amal as a lawyer. So Amal is one of her international lawyers.
Well, again, the film is called 1,000 Cuts, which, of course, I think speaks plainly for itself why your film is called 1,000 Cuts. It's like every day, we've had like 2,000 cuts. It seems like every day there's so many cuts that you can't, in the approach of these guys, that you don't see it coming, the level of corruption, the level of damage, of et cetera,
impunity.
Right? Of the impunity, right? Exactly. Yeah. And it's coming out on the film launches August 7th, is it? I was trying to find it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. In virtual cinema.
What's that?
In virtual cinema.
Right. So, for instance, I know one such example would be Film Forum in New York is doing a virtual cinema, showing it on their platform.
Right.
All right. So I'm not going to, again, I'm serious now about if we can't discuss this, but something we were emailing back and forth last year, there was the release of the other Imelda documentary. And I don't know if that's a subject you even want to talk on at all.
I'd rather not talk about it.
It's a sensitive thing, right?
I guess, but it's done. So,
That's true. It's kind of history now.
Yeah.
All right. So let me just put a line through that. Yeah, no, I was, of course. But you come back with this. It's just such a, I think everybody's going to really respond to this film because of it speaks to everybody in the United States right now.
Absolutely. And I think, yeah, and it's the way it's moving forward, right? I mean, I've done Imelda. I did a long time ago. And then this is what's happening right now. This is really what, this is a rise of authoritarianism in a country in Southeast Asia. But I think it resonates here because of social media platforms, right? They play such a big part in our lives, and they also, right. It's been weaponized in the Philippines, and it's being weaponized here. Right. It was weaponized in 2016 here, so right. And people are not talking about that.
Right. And I think the big takeaway is not to take any information that you're getting for granted anymore. Really, truthfully. I don't care how big the outlet is or what its reputation has been. I mean, you should question all information now.
I think it's even, like, I never thought I'd be like a victim of fake news. I thought, I know better. I can read these things. I'm a critical thinker. I can read critically, but I've been, you know, I think it's everyone's been, right? So you don't think you're above it, I think. And there's a study that said that shows that older people are more prone to our generation, right? So the digital natives, they know what's going on, right? The millennials, they know what's going on, but the older people, older than the millennials, we're more victims of fake news than they are. So interesting.
Thank you so much. We're
Thank you, Adam.
looking forward to your next film. I'm sure you've got things percolating in your mind about what you might.
I do.
No,
yeah, I'm actually trying my hand at fiction. So this is it's not a good time. I want my life back, right? This is tough to be in lockdown, but it's given me a chance to write, you know? So some days are harder than others. It's hard to be creative.
Yeah, no,
once you start getting used to the lockdown,
I moved out of the city because I just needed I need more space and air. And
where are you?
Yeah.
I thought you were in the city.
I moved to like up into the Hudson Valley. So I'm just around Rhinebeck and between Rhinebeck and Hudson.
Oh, I know that area because my daughter went to Bard. It's beautiful.
Oh, I'm down the block from Bard.
Oh my God, it's so beautiful, that area.
Yeah, I went to Bard too. So
okay.
I didn't graduate from Bard, but I did back in 20 years ago.
Okay, all right.
But is your daughter's graduated already?
Yeah.
Okay.
She's done with Bard, but I'm familiar with, you know.
Oh yeah, so you know the area's gorgeous.
Yeah, gorgeous. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I love
perfect place to quarantine.
I'm just, yeah, no, this is like, you know, I don't know what my plan is for the long term, but I've always wanted to do the move. So, you know,
You've done it already, I think, Adam. I think it's happened.
It's all here, man. I just need human beings. I'll be happy.
Oh, yeah,
the area is so full of arts and film and theater and music, but there's nothing going on, of course, right now.
Yeah, so, unfortunately.
Yeah, so let's all hang on to each other and keep saying hello, and I'll be thinking of you, and I'm hoping for the success of 1,000 Cuts by Ramona Diaz.
Thanks, Adam.
You're welcome. Take care.
Okay.
And good luck with the press, all the rest of your press.
Thank you.